Well, I have with me Ms. Zarin Daruwala, the CEO of Standard Chartered India, who's been a veteran of IBLA, if I may say so. Ms. Daruwala, like I said, you've been here through the last 7-8 years with us. How have you seen, the industry change after, coming out after what is a great macroeconomic shock from the COVID, and then the recent events that have played out, geopolitical tensions, inflation concerns, and whatnot? Right now, to your mind, what are some of the top priorities for the banking industry?
I would say it's been a good period of last 1 year where we've seen good credit growth. We've seen corporates being very conservative and delevered. So for bankers, to my mind, the risk profile is completely changed. Whether it's the individual or the corporate, there's much more conservatism in borrowing. So that is clearly something that is playing out well. The second is, I think, with all the PLI and the infra push from the government, we are seeing corporates really looking at expansions. In the core sector, certainly steel, cement, we are seeing a lot of expansions announced or underway. And also we are seeing, the new age economic companies, despite whatever is said, we are seeing them move forward. So that's quite a good thing to see. And as banks, I think there's enough and more to do. We're seeing retail, the real estate sector, again, looking up in the Bombay, Bangalore, etc. So we're seeing a lot of housing demand. So for banks, I think it's a good period. I would say we've been fortunate that we are ring-fenced from all the events that are happening in the banking system overseas. So,
surely, it's a good period for the Indian banking system, even more so given what's going around globally. We saw the banking crisis unfold in the US. I mean, we saw a series of banks collapse. I just wanted to understand, what are the big lessons or the takeaways that Indian bankers here have to look at? I know ALM is an issue that the Reserve Bank of India has constantly been highlighting as well.
I would say if you look at the SVB example, actually Indian banks are much more resilient because there's a lot of reliance on retail deposits. SVB had a lot of deposits which were wholesale and they were from new age economic companies. While if you look at most Indian banks, if you look at CASA plus retail term deposit, in a lot of Indian banks, it will be either 80 to 100% of their advances. So to that extent, that shows the resilience of the balance sheet. Plus, I think in terms of recognition of mark-to-market, etc., I think Indian banks have been far more conservative than their peers in other geographies. To that extent, all negatives are recognized, not upsides. So to that extent, I would say our accounting and our way of operational is much more conservative.
Speaking of upsides, the last couple of years, we've seen the Reserve Bank of India hike the interest rates, and that, of course, is beneficial for banks in general. We've seen them enjoy the benefits of larger margins as well, but now that interest rates are peaking, and I don't know what you're expecting from the upcoming RBI policy, are we in for a phase of, a more cautious growth?
No, I would not say so. Yes, banks have been beneficiary of interest rates, but if you look at corporate term deposits, they have also notched up equally. So it doesn't mean that the bank borrowing cost has remained less. To that extent, I think the margins have been I would say have not shrunk a lot. Having said that, I think it all is a function of what US Fed also does in terms of the interest rate outlook. But one is seeing a little bit of sense that, yes, we are coming towards perhaps the peak of the interest rate cycle.
You don't see that affecting demand in any manner, the rising interest rates of the past year? And of course, deposit rates will catch up over a period of time. But right now, how's the demand looking?
We are seeing good credit demand, actually, whether it's the retail segment or corporate segment. I think we are seeing good buoyancy.
Ms. Daruwala, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. On that note, I'm going to toss it right back to you.